Hello YouTube. I didn't really get to finish my notes for this video, but I kind of wanted to get it recorded and going for you guys. We are here with the 2015 American superhero film based on the Marvel comic superhero team, the Avengers. We have the second film in the Avengers series, Avengers: The Age of Ultron, and man oh man, has it been a long fucking time since I've talked to you guys about MCU movies. It's been a minute. Just a lot of TV shows getting in the way, and I apologize about that, but wow, we have the sequel to the original Avengers movie. It's supposed to be an amazing movie, and I'll just put this out there. Obviously, this isn't the greatest Avengers movie in the world, but I am still somewhat excited to talk about it. I was excited to go back and watch it. A really exciting film. A pretty fun film, I think. Not the greatest, not the most artsy, not the best stories, but I think it was still a fun movie. I remember a lot about this movie from my childhood as well, as it has probably been that long since I've seen it. It's probably been since it came out in theaters. I might have watched it like one other time outside of the theaters, but obviously I don't remember liking it. And it's actually crazy. One thing I forgot to mention about these Marvel movies, they used to come out the first Friday of May, I believe that's what it was, and that was usually like around my birthday. I'm born May 5th. This movie came out May 1st. So literally anytime a new big, and it was all Marvel movies too, like all the major Marvel movies would come into theater around my birthday. Every time that happened, we'd go see the movie for my birthday. So this was obviously a huge part of my childhood. There you go. I mean, there's some nostalgia that could possibly boost my rating, but there. Adding in probably a little too many characters. We will get to that in a second. We'll get to all my gripes, all my positives, all that stuff in just a second. But I love Don Cheadle, Elizabeth Olsen, and whoever the fuck plays Quicksilver. I'll put him up on the screen. I don't remember what his name was. You know, they make their debuts in this film, as well as obviously the Vision, which, was that really needed? I don't know. They did add a lot of characters. I hate using this word on YouTube, but it's a lot of multiverse porn, and I think this film really started that because they took it into Captain America Civil War and the Infinity War and Endgame and all that stuff. Do I like it? I don't know. I'm always going to be kind of mixed on that. You'll see that throughout these videos. You officially get the huge, so I won't go one by one into who is in this film in terms of the cast, but the team is here with some unexpected additions, so I guess we shall get into it. As you guys know, I talk about the premise, the good, the bad, the okay, give it a review, give it a rating. Let's get into the premise. So, when Tony Stark, obviously played by Robert Downey Jr., jumpstarts a dormant peacekeeping program, things go terribly awry, forcing him, Thor, played by Chris Hemsworth, the Incredible Hulk, played by Mark Ruffalo, and the rest of the Avengers to reassemble. So basically, he's like making this computer program, and it goes wrong, which is kind of funny because I'm actually a computer engineer, so it's kind of a fun thing to kind of look at. Looking back on it, obviously I wasn't as a kid. It's a cool concept. I mean, as to where the villain came to be, and even though I'm not a huge fan of Ultron, again, more on that later, I still enjoyed the concept of this film to an extent. I liked the setup, I liked how they did that. So as the fate of Earth hangs in the balance, the team is put to the ultimate test as they battle Ultron. I mean, a technological terror hell-bent on human extinction. You know, this is when, like back in 2015, this actually was the time when AI, artificial intelligence, was really becoming a big thing in the science world. So it was kind of cool to see them kind of make a movie to like exploring it, maybe even having some social commentary on there, on like obviously very like extreme radical cases of how AI could go wrong. And I think that's a fascinating concept, and again, we'll get into all that in a second. Along the way, they encounter two mysterious and powerful newcomers, Pietro and Wanda Maximoff. Obviously some more cool additions to this universe, and that is sort of something again that I am mixed on, but for now I can't trash that too much because holy shit, I do have to say Elizabeth Olsen is a smoke show. Bruh. Sorry, not sorry. I saw her in Full House obviously as a little kid. We'll obviously kind of get into the juice though. Decent movie, let's talk about it. So starting off with the good, this movie absolutely overachieves in terms of the action sequences. I mean, just getting that out of the way, that is something that Marvel will damn near always excel at. There's never really a dull moment in the action scenes and the fight scenes of this movie. Dope shots, dope use of cinematography, and one thing that Marvel does better than any other movie production company or any other movie studio is using the mix of CGI and cinematography to make amazing set pieces, amazing action scenes. They do it to an absolute T. The fight scenes are absolutely incredible. There's never a dull moment there. Now obviously I'll talk about some of the stuff not being super interesting and some of the stuff being kind of filler in terms of the story, but at any time a fight started, anytime you'd hear gunshots or plasma blasters and stuff like that, you would get instantly intrigued because it's Marvel. I mean, how could you not? And some of the fight scenes may seem boring on the surface, like there's a huge reason why that is, and we will discuss it later. I mean, just because of some of the characters involved, like on paper, some of these fight scenes aren't the greatest. It is without a doubt a great and entertaining movie just to look at. I mean, it's obviously a visual spectacle. Again, these are things I can't put specifically to this movie. I think just in general with the MCU, this all kind of applies. That's something obviously they do consistently, so I'm going to continue to give them credit for it where it is due. By the way, also, if there's a hero or character that I don't mention in this video and you're leaving it in the comments, don't. I mean, there is a lot of characters and I can't get to all of them because I didn't really mind or care to talk about certain characters in this video, or they did just fine or were sort of background noise to me. You know, that's kind of what that breaks down to. That's why I'm not going to be talking about as many characters. Another thing I do think they did well with this movie is continuing on from the original Avengers movie, just the relationship between Bruce Banner and Tony Stark, as well as Iron Man and Hulk. You know, they have split personalities kind of versus, well, literally with the Hulk, because he gets pissed off. And, you know, when they're in suit and when they're not in suit, when they're just mad scientists, pretty much just smart-ass, tech-savvy people just going at it. Really dope dynamics in both senses. And those two's relationship, that's easily my favorite in the entire Avengers series. I think that continues pretty well here, so there's kind of that. Getting into Ultron, obviously, it's an awesome concept. It's amazing. Just like how he came to be, his origin story, the fact that I'm pointing over here and you can't see it over the image. He's like an offspring of Jarvis, but he turns out to be evil, like something gets in his computer programming and he turns out to be this evil ass fucking villain, this evil ass bot. Now again, I'm not a huge fan of Ultron as a villain in general, and I'll get to why in a second, but just his origin story and how they brought him to be, his reasons of being is great. And obviously I never really read the comic book, so that was news to me every time I watched the movie too. And it's been a while since I've seen this movie, so still some pretty refreshing things they kind of bring here. And also it's just a nostalgic movie. It really brings me back to my childhood, so that's a huge positive I can give for it. And I like Hawkeye as a character. Not a lot of people are going to talk about Hawkeye in this movie, but him just being the grounded human family man, like how can I ever compare to these super guys and humans? And you know, his wife is kind of talking to him about it and he's like, yeah, I'm just a guy with a bow and arrow. I like that concept. I like him as a character. I like how self-aware he is. I think that's a very interesting thing. I know it doesn't seem like a big deal, but I actually really like Hawkeye as a character, and he's going to get hated on a lot because he's not the most impressive hero in the film, but I like that about him. Also, the humor is actually really good in this movie. I do think the humor works well for this film. All the one-lines and the jokes and the whole thing with Don Cheadle coming in, it's like, oh, I usually get them with that line, and you know, they're making jokes about their masculinity and stuff. That's hilarious.
I'm like, boom, you looking for this? Boom, are you looking? Why do I even talk to you guys? Everywhere else that story kills.
That's the whole story?
Yes.
There's some funny moments, good one-liners as always from guys like Tony Stark and even Captain America joining in on the jokes. Everyone kind of joins in, and I think that's really fun. And obviously taking a side character with Helen Cho, I think her name was, and trying to get her to help Ultron, that was kind of cool. That's another part of the movie that I could see as positive. It's obviously a very minor part of the film, but it was still really fucking cool. The Thanos reveal at the time this movie was in theaters at the end was so fucking sick as well. That's kind of what I'm gonna wrap this up with. Just the fact they did that in the post-credit scene. It built so much intrigue, so much hype for the next two Avengers movies, and that's why those to this day are considered instant classics, and we will obviously get to those sometime down the line, so stay tuned. That was the good. So getting into the bad, I think the only bad thing about this movie and just the worst part about this movie is Ultron. Just Ultron as a character. Again, not his origin story. I really like his origin story, so you may be confused why he's in the bad as that sole bad thing of the movie. Again, I had some great things to say about the concept of the character. He just wasn't executed too well. You know, as the second and third act started rolling along, you started to see him appear everywhere. It wasn't the greatest. I wasn't a huge fan of his inclusion here, and him just as a villain in general. I don't like campiness with villains. You guys noticed that with my take on Green Goblin and the Raimi Spider-Man trilogy. I like my villains to be fucking evil. Downright evil. Spit in your face. No remorse. And again, that's why guys like Loki, guys like Thanos. I mean, it's cool for a character to have like a sympathetic side and kind of side with the good guys to an extent on certain things and understand them. I thought that was beautiful how they did it with like Sandman in the Spider-Man movie, but you really have to execute that well, and obviously they don't really try that with this movie. This is just a mass destruction mech in the world. The campiness, he sounds like such a generic villain. There's nothing that really distinguishes him from villains from like the fucking 80s of cartoons and shit, you know what I mean? His voice was very generic. Overall, just a very generic evil robot type of character, and that was never what this movie was setting him up as, but unfortunately that's how it turned out. It would have been cool actually, like if he took the form of the Vision and became that. I think maybe if the Vision was the villain, that could have been a little bit better, but I don't really know, man. I tuned out some of the action scenes involving him for these reasons. Like, I liked the action, I liked the choreography, but when he was involved, it was like, ugh, this guy, like, why can't... I'd rather see the heroes fight each other the entire movie. I'd rather see Hulkbuster versus Hulk the entire movie than see this guy damn near at all. I was not a huge fan of him in this movie. He's just a boring character, like a big robot that shoots laser beams out of his body. Would you rather have that, or would you have a shapeshifter that has mythical powers and is like a godly being, or even a giant purple alien that can end the world literally at the snap of a finger? I mean, which ones? I'm taking the last two, for sure, without a doubt. And they worked better in the other Avengers movies. More on the purple guy, of course. We'll get into him when his movies come up. And honestly, it might have been better off also even. They could have gone in many directions with this. Like maybe even keeping Baron Strucker alive and just have him be the villain. Because he was a pretty intriguing character I heard in the comics. Why not keep him alive? I think he was a little bit involved with the Captain America movies. Bring him around again. I think that would have been cool. Probably my only true negative, but it is a pretty costly one. I'm going to be honest with you. Getting into the okay, this is one of the bigger sections of the video, and I know this video is going to be pretty long already. There's a lot of stuff to dive in with this movie. They go for a lot, and that's a mixed aspect in itself, because I think the War Machine was a pretty unnecessary character, if I'm being completely honest. I love Don Cheadle in the Iron Man films, some of my favorite MCU films ever, especially Iron Man 2, one of my favorites of all time. He was fantastic in that movie, but here he's just out of place and no one really cares. I like his costume, again, he adds to the humor. What was he needed here? I'm gonna say no. It was kind of cool to see him have a couple action sequences late in the film. I didn't really care for him though, to be honest. More of the stuff in the mixed for this movie is just extra stuff. They threw it in. I think they were doing a little bit too much with this movie, and that's just the whole concept, and they just kind of threw it in to make a feature-length theatrical event, which is whatever. It's Marvel. Marvel's gonna get their money. That's fine. I think Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, who by the way, they never mentioned Quicksilver or Scarlet Witch by their hero names throughout the film. They just said Wanda and Pietro, which I guess is fine, but if you weren't a Marvel Comics fan, you wouldn't have known who those characters were, and like at the time of me watching it, I didn't know either. But they're cool and great characters. Like, I don't have anything against them as characters. Obviously, Quicksilver is a Flash knockoff, but still cool characters that would have been great for this movie had they been developed. They would have been great for another movie too. However, they really weren't, and by the time Quicksilver dies and Scarlet decides to join this new Legion of Avengers, I was like, who really cares? Could have just had a separate movie with these characters as well as the Vision, which, speaking of the Vision, this whole thing with him being able to pick up Mjolnir and him being Thor's vision and being created that way was kind of kind of pointless. It was cool. I like what they were going with. I like how they mixed that in with like Ultron's failed attempt of bringing himself to life, but I didn't really see a point of him being in this movie. He helped them fight. He's an intriguing character, but did he really need to be? I don't think so, honestly. They flipped Ultron's thing on him, sure, but again, that character's so uninteresting that why would I care? Don't know. Again, I was more intrigued with Baron Strucker being in the movie for the first like 10 minutes than I was anything else with the other villains. And also, is it a little bit weird that Nick Fury continues to just pop out of nowhere? Just me? Okay. Also, a couple more things. I know this video's gonna be long as fuck, but just the weirdness of Black Widow and Hulk's relationship. I wasn't a huge fan of it. It seems fucking weird. Like, it seems almost fucking incestual. I don't know what it is. It seems like a weird relationship, and I don't remember how far they took that in the next couple of movies, but I hope it doesn't go too far. I don't like it. Maybe that's how it was in the comics. Personally, not my thing. One last thing. Obviously, you guys know I'm not a huge fan of fantasy movies, so with most of these Avengers and MCU movies, it's gonna come that criticism that, hey, I don't really care for this type of thing anyway. So, yeah, there's that. There's a lot of bent belief, like, if Quicksilver's running through a crowd and picks you up, you're gonna fucking die. You're not gonna survive someone going light speed fucking carrying you through something. That doesn't make sense. The G-force would crush your body. You know what I mean? I'm an engineer. I think of stuff like that, but there you go. Here we are, the final segment of the video, just kind of getting into the review. I'm gonna be honest, this is one of the weaker, probably the weakest Avengers film, and we will have to see what happens when I watch Infinity Wars next and then Endgame. We'll see what happens when I watch those and see if I like this movie better than those, but as of now, I think Age of Ultron, generally speaking as well, like critically, is the worst Avengers film. It's probably the weakest. It's weaker than a lot of those early 2010s, late 2000s of MCU movies as well. The main problem, I think, is a weak villain that, although has an amazing origin story, is just not executed in the greatest way. I also think this movie can kind of suffer from the multiverse trap to where there are just too many comic book homages and too many characters in one film. I love Don Cheadle, but let's let him stick to the Iron Man films. I think it would be better if War Machine was just an Iron Man only character. That's like going to Captain America and bringing in Red Skull, or like hell, even if they brought Falcon into this movie, that would have been very unnecessary. You know what I mean? I don't mind the Vision and Wanda, obviously, you know, they had their own little series later, and that helps this movie. that alleviates it a little bit, and it's nice to know that, but maybe just give them a movie instead of waiting over a half decade to give them a standalone show. I don't know, that's just me. Satisfactory movie overall, but it is the last Avengers movie I would return to if I was looking for some peak entertainment in terms of this universe. So with that being said, I'm going to give this a 7.4 out of 10. Again, satisfactory. It doesn't have to be a solid MCU movie, but it's probably bottom of the barrel in terms of Avengers films. So with that being said, it has been your boy Jeezy TV. I am out. Leave a like, comment, subscribe. I'm wrapping up my 30 days of Summer Smash. Last day today, I'm actually editing the video. I don't know when this video is going to come out. It's probably going to be like 15 or 16 minutes of clips. So we'll see what I do in the editor's room, you know, in my stew. But I'm out, guys. Really appreciate everyone's support.